Hey, what the hell are you doing walking around dressed like Star Wars?
It's Comic-Con, you idiot. We're going to the Javits Center.
Well, you're the idiots, because you three guys would never be walking together.
Yeah, you're his boss, and you two guys are enemies.
Yeah, bite me, Captain Kirk.
Hey, Mo, come on. No, that's Star Trek.
Yeah, that's two different franchises.
Yeah, sorry, guys. She doesn't know.
Nah, it's okay. I'm sorry you have to deal with that.
Let's go.
Oh, hey, come on. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. Not worth it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fanzone Debate. We are here at the beginning of the season for a very exciting match. I believe this is the first match of the season after the Last Word event. Very exciting stuff at that event. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. I finished editing it last night. It was a monster video. Anyway, it's very fun, very exciting, but looking forward to this one today. We got Joe Farrelly going up against Andrew Barr to open up the season. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And to save time, I don't care about Mark or Brian and what they think. That's not true. I do care about them. But they're here to judge, and we're going to get into it right away. We're going to bring in the players. We've got Mr. Andrew Barr. Barr, wave and smile to the camera. Say hi to mom.
Bonjour, mom.
Oh, I like that. And then we got Mr. Joe Farrelly. Joe, welcome to the game. We are going to get right into it, guys. This is how it is going to work. Barr and Joe drafted categories. We gave them questions based on the categories. They're going to debate those questions tonight before our very souls. So they're each going to get a 1-minute opening, 5-minute free form, and a 1-minute closing at the end of the debate. Mark, Brian, and I will write on our handy-dandy boards who we thought won the debate. 2 out of 3 votes wins you a point. First person to 3 points wins the match. Gentlemen, any questions as we kick this off?
Nope. Nah.
All right, let's do it. I hear my daughter screaming through the ceiling. Okay, we are going to kick it off with the first question. This was drafted by Mr. Farrelly, I believe. The question is in the category of Galaxy Quests. Your question is simply, what is the best performance in a Galaxy Quests film? Joe, because you drafted this, you are going to start. You have 1 minute to open when you start talking.
I think Rebecca Ferguson gives the best performance in a Galaxy Quests film, specifically her performance in Dune Part 2. While she's still great in Part 1, I think she really ups her game in Part 2. In both Parts 1 and 2, she displays this great duality between being a loving mother towards Paul and her commitments to the Bene Gesserit. However, in Part 2, she takes it several steps further. I think her portrayal of the Reverend Mother, pushing Paul to become the Lisan al-Gaib, as written, and it's in this movie that we get to see the full scope of her range as an actress. She conveys pride, fear, joy, sadness, determination, love, and vengeance. I think the performance is vocal, I think it's physical, and I think it's in the eyes. They say the key to acting is reacting, and she nails every emotion with just one look. I think it's a phenomenal performance. I think she goes under the radar, but when you watch the film and you watch the film in context of both parts, the performance she gives in parts 2 is just phenomenal.
Time. Okay. All right, let's move over to Mr. Andrew Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
When you think of like a great dynamic performance, you're looking at like a range of emotions all within a set amount of time, with a set amount of screen time, set amount of film time. And if you can make your performance so memorable that it becomes like iconic character, then you're doing something incredible. That's what Sigourney Weaver does in Alien. She has to go through this whole gambit of emotions throughout the entire film. She has to grow and develop, and we have to see that through her performance, from lowly space crew member to just like absolute survival badass. And we have to believe it throughout the entirety of the film, which we do because of how great her performance is. Whereas with Rebecca Ferguson, yeah, one look, great. Not if it's the entire film and the entire look.
Time. Okay. Rebecca Ferguson versus Sigourney Weaver. You guys have a 5-minute freeform. I will throw up the 1-minute warning when the time comes. If I feel like you're talking too much, you're not letting your opponent speak, I'm going to throw up the let your opponent talk. Don't make me do that. It'll make me very sad, and then I'm going to have to send Nick Tuig to your house. So 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
Joe, you started talking about her performances in both films. We need to focus on just Dune Part 2, where it's a very good performance. However,
I said she's great in both parts, but Dune 2 is where she perfects it because it delves into that full range of emotions.
Well, we can't take what we built from Part 1 into Part 2 if we're just judging on Part 2.
No, we can, because she takes what she did in Part 2 and then does the same thing, which is great, and also develops on it. It's also, she gives a great performance in Doom Part 2, and it's still the better performance. And I think you misjudged Ripley quite a lot. She's not a lowly crew member. She's the third in command. She shows competence. She shows survival skills from the very beginning when she refuses to let Kane be brought back on board. It's only Ash that overrules it. She's competent throughout. She shows survival skills throughout. The only thing that's added is the fear when the creature is there. And let's be honest,
come until later.
Yeah, the fear comes later, but the competence and survival skills are already there. It doesn't, the performance doesn't really develop at any really point on that set.
But you're talking about a character development in the script. I'm talking about we see her growth as a performer in the film. Yes, she's third in command, but she's outranked throughout, and you see the frustration build in her.
Yeah,
whereas with Rebecca Ferguson,
that's pretty much it.
Whereas with Rebecca Ferguson, throughout this entire film, throughout Dune Part 2, it's kind of static. It kind of stays the same intensity throughout the film. You were talking about like sadness. I don't know where you're talking about when it comes to sadness, because you can't see that in her face.
Maybe we watched a different movie. I think Lady Jessica is actually the key to understanding the fulsome sign message of Dune Part 2. While a lot of it is shown through Chani, it's Ferguson's performance, taking into account everything we've seen of Jessica and Paul's journey, her reaction to his declaration of war, that shows, it's her plan. She wants that to happen, but also that duality of her caring and loving for Paul and realizing this may actually be a mistake. You can see it throughout. What makes it more impressive as well is the competition. Ferguson stands out amongst some of the most acclaimed actors right now. Chalamet, Bardem, Skarsgård, Batista, Pugh, Zendaya. Where's the challenge in
Austin Butler, the guy everyone was talking about after the film?
Where's the challenge in Ripley's performance, in Weaver's performance? The fact of the matter is, it's the creature's actually there. It's all practical. No CGI. She has something to react to, and it's just that the fear reaction.
So where's the challenge is the fact that a lot of the time she's not on screen with the creature at the same time. A lot of the time during the best moments of her acting, she's by herself, and you can see the tears and snot and just pure exhaustion. You literally start to see like bags under her eyes, and you can tell that is not makeup. Which she's going through fear from the alien. She's going through the heartbreak of losing all of her crew members. She's going through the moments of hope where she finally gets in that spaceship and she's flying off and she says, "I got you, you son of a bitch." Like, you just feel the weight of exhaustion just turn into relief off of her performance in that.
I think the biggest difference is, like I said, I still don't think there's nothing challenging about playing Ripley. She's a survivor and she continues to survive throughout the film. Doom Part 1 sets the foundation for Jessica being torn between the love for Paul and the commitment to the rise to power. But Doom Part 2 changes that trajectory by making her a villain, ultimately responsible for the Holy War. And it's because of her performance in that movie, the way she handles the duality of the role, that she still manages to keep it as a likable character, an interesting character in the eyes of the audience. Ferguson fills that role with life and dimension, everything to do when you see the reaction to her pregnancy, the reaction to Paul declaring war, declaring this holy war. The potential that he could die when he drinks the water. All these different things. You see this range of different emotions, the concern, but also, that desire for power that is still there. It's the concern for the son. It's the desire for power. Everything about that is perfect.
There is literally a moment in the script where Paul says to her, "You're afraid." And you do not see that on her face because it is just an intensity. That's not fear. We don't have to be told what she's feeling. Whereas with Alien, you can sense every moment that Sigourney Weaver is on screen. You were talking about, oh, she's like strong and confident throughout the entire thing. She kind of lets things go in the beginning, and she's kind of like, even when John Hurt's character has just gotten like awakened from the face hugger, she's kind of like light and goofing around with everyone else and having fun. That's not the intensity that you're trying to bring up. Whereas with yours, it's literally just this face the entire time, and you
No,
can't.
see, that's where you're wrong. Yes, there is intensity there, but the fact is, it's the intensity because yes, she is afraid, but like I keep saying, there is this duality. There is multiple things. There are multiple things going on with Ferguson's performance. It's not just I'm concerned. I am happy. It's a myriad of emotions combined into one look.
Time. Okay. We are going to start the closings with Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
You can't talk about how a great performance comes from like the face when she has the same facial expression the entirety of the film. Whereas with Ripley, you see the fear, you see the anger, you see the exhaustion, you see the hope. The moment that she thinks that she's free, it is just it's kind of like this shockwave just goes over her, and you resonate with her in that moment. Um, Joe has been talking a lot about the development of the character, but he hasn't really talked about why Rebecca Ferguson's performance is conveying that. He's talking more about the script and the writing of that character than the actual performance of Rebecca Ferguson. Whereas with Ripley, you see a crest of emotions throughout, all through Sigourney Weaver's actual performance, not just the writing.
Time. Okay. We are going to go over to Mr. Joe Farrelly. Joe, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Well, Sigourney Weaver does give a competent performance as Ripley. There's nothing challenging about the role. Barr mentioned that there is a development throughout this thing, but the survival skills, the competency, all that sort of stuff is there. It's only the fear that comes in later. And, you know, she's got something to react to. Ferguson manages to take a complex character and make her villainous whilst maintaining her likability. She does this through a careful, seductive ambiguity that keeps the audience gripped. And it keeps you invested in her journey because of the performance. The performance is nuanced and layered and told through her eyes. And more than any other character, she stands out against some of the finest actors with one of the most iconic performances in one of the most iconic films of the year, which is already filled with epic performances. She manages to convey various different emotions at various different times. It's ambiguous because she is a complex character. Ripley is not that difficult to play because the emotions are there on screen. Yes, I have the survival skills and I'm going to be competent and I'm going to be stern, and this is me being stern, and now this is me being afraid. Well, Ferguson does convey a myriad of emotions in one look throughout.
Time. Okay. Ooh, wah, ah, ah, ah.
Okay, so it's going to be this kind of fight. Okay. Okay.
How are you, Barr?
Stressed.
You guys don't speak unless we call on you. How dare you? No, I'm just kidding. We're trying to cut these videos down, okay? They're too long. Good shit, guys. That was great. By an edge, a sliver, I went with Barr. I bought in a little bit more to Barr's ability to convince me that Ferguson's performance is kind of one note. I personally disagree, but based on the argument, I think that Barr did a good job of kind of conveying that while and kind of talking about how everything that Joe was talking about was supported by the script and less by the performance. And I thought Barr did a good job for Weaver. I don't think that Joe necessarily. I thought Joe had some good points against her, but I think Barr was able to just by an edge take it out. So, Brian, where are you going?
I agree. Give a slight edge to Andrew on that one. Both great performances. Great way to kick off this debate. But again, I think it was mostly in Barr's closing when he kind of cinched it for me. Kind of just reinforcing everything he said about how Wreck Person largely has like the kind of the one expression on her face through a lot of it. Ripley got more into the kind of, you get to see the emotion on her face, get to feel what she was feeling, and everything that she went through. So I just, again, like you, just give a slight edge to Barr.
Okay, Mark, where would you have voted?
Yeah, same. Barr. I think kind of like Brian, Barr kind of really won this match in his closing. I think he just did a really good job of just kind of, I think he did a good job of saying that Sigourney Weaver just kind of was doing a bit more in her performance. And it's something that, we could see. Like Joe tried his hardest to kind of combat most of what Barr was saying. I think Barr was just a bit more convincing.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a clean sweep for Barr, but we've got more questions to ask. So the next question was drafted by Barr in the category of comedy. Your question is, or I'm sorry, no, actors and actresses. Question is, which Reese Witherspoon film has the best opening scene? Okay, so we're going to start with Barr on this one. Barr, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I never thought that I would pick a McG film for a question like this, but This Means War is an amazing opening sequence. It sets up the entirety of the movie. It sets up our two main characters. It sets up what they do. It sets up how talented they are at what they do. It sets up the competitiveness between them, especially when it comes to women. And it also sets up the events about to follow afterwards. It is a fantastic series of events that is told in a way that is just absolutely, like, it just falls into a perfect picture, and you know what kind of movie you're about to get in, from story and to quality to tone, throughout the entirety of the rest of the film.
Okay. We're going to move over to Mr. Farrelly. Joe, you have 1 minute to open when you start talking.
A truly great opening scene needs to grab an audience. It can take you into that world you're about to experience for the next 2 hours, and the best opening scenes will keep you there. Walk the Line, James Mangold's biopic of the late, great Johnny Cash, has that opening scene. It's a simple scene, but it does everything it needs to do to understand what this film is going to be. It opens at Folsom Prison with the sign just obscured enough. Its slow-moving shots bring you into the mess hall as that smooth guitar riff starts to play, and the pounding of the inmates' footsteps take you right into the world of country music. We then move to the backstage area, where Phoenix is looking at a circular saw while a glass of water next to it shows the beat of that music a la Jurassic Park. As an audience, we already know the impact of music in Johnny Cash's life, and it's why we're there. It's why what we're there to see. But why is the circular saw there? Why is this being shown with the same relevance of the impact of music? It's a brilliant, thoughtful, subtle opening scene, and it sets up the incredible story to come.
Time. Okay. All right. These are two different movies. 5 minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
So there are so many series of events that happen in my opening. One is you see the competitiveness between the two guys as they're trying to flirt with these two women. During the badass fight scene, you see the one villain tear FDR's jacket, which he mentions earlier when someone asks him about that jacket as he falls to his death, and his brother finds it, and that sets up how the brother finds him later on in the movie and why he wants to kill these two. With yours, your scene literally only sets up the next scene. Once the title card hits for his childhood, that's the end of your scene, and there's really nothing else to it that sets up the whole dynamic of the film.
No, and see that this is the thing. This is a subtle opening scene. This is one gets you into that feel of the music already and sets up that stuff with the Sacred Soul, which is a huge, story beat in Johnny Cash's life. It sets up the death of his brother and the memories and everything that sort of creates for him. Yours is a basic action sequence. It's the kind of cold open that's been done in 25 Bond films and 7 Mission Impossible films. And I could go to all 32 of those to see something better. Yours sets up that they're spies and they like to flirt. There's no intrigue. There's nothing intriguing about it. It's a semi-decent action sequence. The key to your movie is their dynamic with Reese Witherspoon, and she's not even there. I know Reese Witherspoon's, it's not necessarily a big part of my scene, but the point is
she's not in your scene, so
it's exact. But my film is about Johnny Cash, and it sets up that everything. It sets up two things with this very subtly done shot of the impact of music and the impact of the circular saw. This is the thing that sets up the story going on, and we come back to it later on in the film. Yours is an action sequence that's one and done.
So you brought up the fact that they're the spies and that they like to flirt. First of all, we see that they're really good at their job as spies, and that they're very qualified, and that they're really, really good when it comes to these kind of action sequences. You also say that it sets up that they like to flirt. But when they're actually flirting with these two girls, the two of them are competing with each other. One called the other one short. The other one kind of calls the stupidity of the other one as like his flirting process. So it sets up the competitiveness of these two trying to go after the same girl, which will happen to be Reese Witherspoon down the line. Now, 2/3 of your opening is just location shots. It's just shots of Folsom Prison.
And what is happening while we are seeing those location shots? What is happening? We are getting that guitar riff. We are getting the stamp of the prison inmates going throughout that beat, bringing us into that world. It's an immersive experience. Yours is a semi-decent action sequence that's like, oh, that was fun. Next. Whereas this is bringing you into that world. It's surrounding you in that world. The sound, the sights, everything about it. It's a feast for the senses, man.
So how does the setup of that sound develop into the relationship between June and Johnny? Because that song in particular,
it doesn't need to. It's not setting up the relationship. It's setting up the story of Johnny Cash, which June is a part of. And that's the point. Yours does not. Your Reese Witherspoon is such an important part of their dynamic together, of Pine and Hardy's dynamic together, and she's not in that scene. Whereas June is a part of Johnny's life, but the story is about his life and the music and the tragedy and everything that came with it. It's a multitude of things.
So the story of This Means War is actually more focused on Taft and FDR, and Reese Witherspoon's character, as I brought up earlier, is the center of that dynamic between the two of them, which rips their bond. But you see little seedlings of that throughout the beginning of that film. Plus, you said a boring action sequence. That action sequence is badass. There are guys jumping through bullets. There's feathers and money just flying all over the place. There is people dangling from the side of buildings. That is way more exciting than you're trying to make it out to be.
The only thing that's relatively interesting is you go, oh, hey, look, it's Hugo Stiglitz. That's about as happy as you get watching it. The point I'm trying to make is that the point is with Reese Witherspoon's character being in there, it's about her character and how she manages to actually split these two apart. Yes, in that scene they're fun and they're bouncing off each other and they're a little bit competitive, but her character literally breaks them out and she's not in that scene. She is so important to the dynamic between two and why that story works, and she's not there. Whereas Reese Witherspoon is inconsequential to the story of Johnny Cash in the music and the tragedy side of it.
Time. Okay. We are going to start with Joe for closings. Joe, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
The opening scene of This Means War is the guy who tries hard to be cool and has no substance. Walk the Line's opening scene is the guy that is effortlessly cool and has a deep misunderstood sort of trauma that you want to get to know better. As an opening scene, it serves its purpose of immersing its audience in the world whilst also creating intrigue at the same time. This Means War's opening scene is a half-decent action sequence that only serves to tell its audience, you like these two bros working together to save the world? Well, here's a rom-com instead. And that's what you get with it. the way James Mangold directs that opening sequence and brings it all together with these location shots, with the music, with you hearing the music before you see any of it being performed. It's a masterclass in subtlety and intrigue and immersing you into a world that you want to learn more about. You know about the music, and that simple shot of the music impacting on the water while showing the saw is perfectly set up.
Okay, we're going to move over to Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Joe keeps bringing up that Reese isn't even in the opening scene of my film. She's not in the opening scene of his film either. But mine does a better job at showing why her character becomes so important, because it sticks into the dynamic between the two main characters that is set up specifically during that moment where they're competing with flirting with these two other women. Joe also says that there's no it becomes an action movie that turns into a romantic comedy. Not true, because you follow the action set up from the opening of my film, from the villainous brother who is out to get revenge on these two guys, which is set up in the amazing action sequence of the opening of the film. And there's little bits and clues throughout where the one girl asks about FDR's jacket. And then the jacket gets torn by the villainous brother's dead brother, and it sets up everything. Walk the Line does not set up the film.
Time. Okay. Gonna bring in the judges. All right, you guys ready? Oh, Mark's right still. All right, Mark, whenever you're ready.
All right. Yeah, I'm going with Joe on this one. I think Barr crafted a pretty good argument for This Means War. It's a bit of a surprising pick, and I think he actually did a solid job of building something up. I just think Joe kind of set up a more impactful scene, at least for his movie, and pretty much every kind of like throw that Barr threw at Joe, which threw kind of a bit of them, I think Joe had a solid answer for them. Like, for example, like whenever he threw up, there's just a bunch of location shots, and kind of how does it set up like his relationship is like, well, it doesn't really matter because like it's about Johnny Cash's life, and I think it just sets up for like the pain and kind of the anguish that he's going to go through in his life, that this is where it brings him to this moment.
Okay, I agree with Mark. I went with Joe. I agree with pretty much everything that Mark said. Barr tried to use the that whole like, well, Reese Witherspoon isn't in the scene. I agree with Mark and what he said, and with Joe, that for Joe, in Joe's instance, it doesn't matter, and it doesn't necessarily matter for the question. But Barr started his argument by saying this opening scene tells you everything you need to know about the movie going forward, and without Reese Witherspoon there, that isn't the whole movie. So I think that was a good and valid point to make. So I went with Joe. Brian, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone away?
You muted.
You are me. Oh, there he goes.
Yeah, 2 clean sweeps. I went with Joe. I think that there's a lot of talk between both of them about how it, sets up the movie and sets up things later in the movie. There's a lot of talk of, well, Reese Witherspoon was in this scene, and Reese Witherspoon, wasn't more important to this, but Reese isn't really part of the question, except for it has to be a Reese Witherspoon movie. So that kind of didn't mean anything to me. To me, it came down to what the question is: what is the best opening scene? And for me, I think Joe just did a better job of explaining to me how his scene, in terms of how the cinematography was done, how the music was used, how everything to create just a beautiful opening scene that immerses you in that world.
You had to stop talking while I was taking a swig. No, agreed. So it is 1-1. We're gonna move on to the next question, which was drafted by Joe in the category of comedy. Now we're at comedy. Your question is, which Jim Carrey comedy has the best supporting cast? Joe, you get to kick this one off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Defining the best cast is tricky because on the one hand, you want to pick a film that has a host of great actors, but if those actors aren't giving great performances, can you really say it's the best cast? Look at something like movie 43, for example. There's loads of great actors in that. Has it got the best cast? Maybe not. But for Carey's filmography, I think Man on the Moon fits that description. Because aside from Carey, you have Danny DeVito, you have Paul Giamatti, you have Christopher Lloyd, Vincent Chiavelli, Carol Kane, Norm Macdonald, each of them iconic actors and comedians, all giving great individual performances and great as part of an ensemble. DeVito, for example, his presence throughout Man on the Moon is felt. Yeah, you get this great duality from him in being this manager who recognizes Kaufman's talent, but also looking for his payday at the same time. You have this great supporting performance from Giamatti, just little appearances from people like Christopher Lloyd as themselves, but also at the same point, you look at they were great performances in the film, but you look at the accolades and the careers that these actors have had. All in all, it's a total great cast.
Okay. We're going to move over to Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
You want to talk about accolades and careers of the supporting cast? Let me read you off a few names from a series of unfortunate events. Catherine O'Hara, Cedric the Entertainer, Jude Law, Timothy Spall, Dustin Hoffman, and Meryl Streep. Like, that is a murderer's row of people who show up in this movie. And also, they are doing the best job of elevating Jim Carrey's actual performance in this film. It's not a lot of stunt casting. It's a bunch of people who are actually perfectly suited for these characters and to elevate Jim Carrey's performance. You have not only the quantity, but the quality in both of their previous performances and in this movie. And I yield my time.
Oh, okay. This is going to be spicy. All right. 5 minutes when one of you starts.
So
you've got Streep for her. She's probably out of the one who has the most to do out of that supporting cast. It's Streep, but even then, she doesn't turn up till sort of midway through the second act, and she's killed off, and the character is kind of also one note. Streep is a phenomenal actress. There's no denying that, but what she gets to do here, it's kind of forgettable. Everyone is sort of there to be a bit part to the Jim Carrey show. Whereas I think Man on the Moon, yes, Jim Carrey is front and foremost, but the performances, especially from DeVito and Giamatti, I think they are much more than just elevating. They are their own characters in the same point and also giving a host of different things.
So Man on the Moon kind of strictly becomes the Jim Carrey show. Whereas with mine, all of these people are not only elevating Carrey's performance, but they're also turning in really memorable performances. You talked about Meryl Streep's character. I've never seen Meryl Streep kind of play that mouthy, demure, like scaredy cat bitch that her character ends up being. That scene with her and Carrey on the boats is such a dynamic scene, and neither one of them are taking away from the other ones. However, the characters that are actually more memorable, that you said Streep was the most, are Cedric the Entertainer, Timothy Spall, and Jude Law. They show up throughout the entire film, whether it be on screen or narrating, and their dynamics with each other and their characters are so good.
I mean, Jude Law is a narrator. Let's put that to the back. So you say his character is so good.
I said narrating.
He's narrating for the film, and it's a serviceable performance. I think this is not just about the performance. I think it's about that great cast. And yes, you have the great cast, and I think that cast doesn't necessarily take away from the presence of people like DeVito and Giamatti and Christopher Lloyd. Even Michael Kelly. He's multiple Emmys, as has Norm Macdonald and has Carol Kane. You're left with a serviceable supporting cast once you lose Streep and Hoffman.
See, once you lose Streep, you actually get Dustin Hoffman later, and not only that, you get the entire acting troupe that is also part of like Count Olaf's devious crew. And all of them are so fun and unique and interesting, and their performances bounced off of Jim Carrey's is such an entertaining thing to see. With yours, a lot of the people that you named was stunt casting. They pop up really briefly and then they kind of disappear, and they don't really do much to elevate the performance of either the movie or Jim Carrey himself.
I think they do elevate the movie. I think their presence there is sort of it is in that sort of tribute to Andy Kaufman. But I think that's actually the point I'm kind of trying to make here, is that you get the great supporting performances from Giamatti, DeVito, and Chiavelli, and then you also get this great cast, these casting of the people like Lloyd and McDonald and Kelly and everything like that. You have this, and this is why I think it is the best supporting cast, is because you have great actors who give great performances and also support the lead, and then also you have other great actors who can turn up, do their small part, but because of their history and their careers that they've had, it makes them part of that great supporting cast. It's that great supporting cast in terms of career and great supporting cast in terms of performances. It's a lovely duality that you get there. Whereas I think you could get a lot better performances out of pretty much all of your big accolade actors. Streep, Hoffman, you don't remember them for a series of unfortunate events.
I absolutely remember their performances. The one scene where Cedric the Entertainer and Dustin Hoffman are sitting next to each other at the wedding. For some reason, that little moment is so good. But
when I say to you, he's like, "Oh yeah, Dustin Hoffman. It's that guy from a series of unfortunate events." That's what you say.
Nobody says that. No,
that's my point.
No.
What I'm the same.
What
with
I'm saying is that
you go, "Oh yeah, I remember her from that film."
So let's be honest. You're also leaving out one performance of your film that's bigger than a lot of the other people that you have brought up, and that's Jerry Lawler. Who was in the movie as a supporting character. Let's be completely honest with us. And his performance is not really good. It's fine. It's gimmicky because it's Jerry Lawler playing Jerry Lawler, which a lot of people play the same version of themselves in your film, and he's not really good. Whereas with mine, everyone's balanced out. That scene with the snake as Timothy Spall and Cedric the Entertainer are like talking to the kids and Count Olaf being disguised as someone else, that little scene in itself, the way everyone's playing off of each other and heightening each other is fantastic.
Time. All right. Let's go to closings. We're going to start with Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
So Man on the Moon is a movie where Jim Carrey is the shining light. It is the beam of that movie, but it's not the other characters rising him up to that. Sure, you get the two with Paul Giamatti and Danny DeVito, but that's kind of really it. Everyone else is just kind of there, and Jerry Lawler is being Jerry Lawler and not even really good at it. Whereas with mine, every single person in this film, including the kids, are all elevating Carrey's performance while still having their own memorable characters and performances as well. As I said, Cedric the Entertainer is the cop, Timothy Spall is the lawyer, Jude Law is the narrator, who's doing actually really great narration work. Meryl Streep being a character that we've never seen before and bouncing off of Jim Carrey evenly. This is the supporting cast that is doing the heaviest lifting.
If you thought Ellie was going to make surprise appearances last season a lot, this season it's a whole other ball game. Joe, you now have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
I think if the question was which Carrey film has a supporting performance from one of the greatest actresses or actors of all time, then fine. But this is about the best supporting cast as a whole. And I think once you sort of you look at Streep and it's a fine performance and it's a character that's sort of one and done, as the same with Hoffman. You're left with a good cast. With Man on the Moon, you have DeVito, Giamatti, Chiavelli, and Kelly. All have been consistently great throughout their careers, earning award nominations for decades, but who also give great performances here that do lift up Jim Carrey's performance, but also create memorable, wonderful characters of their own. Then you have Lloyd, Kane, and McDonald playing themselves, but all great performers who have also earned multiple nominations throughout their careers. Unfortunate Events picks good actors, but not the caliber of Man of the Moon. And the great actors it does pick gives them bit parts too. I think that's the biggest struggle there. I think they're and Jim. What the Fandom Project is literally just the Jim Carrey show.
Time. Okay. All right, bring in the judges. Oh, geez, now Bucky's running down the stairs. Okay, can you help me? I don't know. Can you hold that for me? Thank you. Don't take the lid off. Okay. Oh, you dropped it. All right, Brian, you're starting.
This time I went with Andrew. I just feel like most of Joe's attacks on him had more to do with the roles, like how much they were in a movie, how much screen time they had, if they were, gone from half the movie, whatever. But I think that Barr did a better job of telling me how his cast was just, everything was there in support of Jim Carrey. Everybody did their job. Even the narrator was doing a great job. He almost lost me when he tried to claim that Cedric the Entertainer is good in anything, but it wasn't enough to lose my vote.
That's funny. Mark, your vote.
Come with Joe in this one.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't know. It just kind of felt like I just kind of bought into Joe a little bit more here. That he just kind of has more people in it, kind of more notability, more people just kind of doing stuff, and ultimately just kind of adds to the whole film better.
Okay, Ellie, should we show him who we voted for? Voted for Barr. I agree with Brian. I think that and it was close. This was one of those where like I didn't necessarily like both of their pros for their movies were really, really strong, and it did come down to the oh wow. It did come down to the Maggie was saying, you want to come here? No. It did come down to the defense, and I feel like Barr was able to support his supporting cast just a little bit more in the quality of the screen time, and also just like the quality of the performances throughout. And he was able to convince me that the cast in Joe's movie is big, but they're kind of doing bit parts that aren't that great. So I went with Barr. That means Barr's up 2-1. We are going into the final prep question, which was drafted by Barr.
I know how the story goes.
So Joe needs to hit this in order to send it to the bonus. Otherwise, Barr will win. Your question was drafted in the category of Disney. The question is, what is the best song in a 20th century Disney animated film? Ellie, you know about this kind of stuff. So we are going to start with Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
So arguably the most important song in any musical, whether it be stage or screen, live action or animated, is the I Want song. The song where the main character sings about their desires, what their hopes and dreams and wishes are. And I don't think there is a better song in Disney's history in general that matches part of your world from The Little Mermaid. It is the song that all other Disney songs have aspired to be and have never quite reached yet, even with the same guy who has written that song. Joe is going to bring up a very good song, but one that doesn't quite have the dynamic artistry that part of your world has. And I'm going to yield my time.
Oh. Okay, Ellie knows that song very well. All right, so I know it a little too well. Joe, 1 minute to open when you start talking.
The Disney Renaissance era is filled with great songs, and unlike the previous question where options were few and far between, there are so many options for this answer that first pop into your head. But the key to finding the right answer was to take a step back and actually listen to the best of the best and find the song that is firstly iconic, furthers the story, can't be compared to songs that hit the same story beat in other movies. And finally, features an incredible vocal performance and the visuals that accompany it. For me, that is the title song from Beauty and the Beast. Oscar-winning song, beautiful music, Lansbury's incredible vocals, and yes, Disney has had many a love song over the years, but so often it has been about the princess who is looking for love, that character who's waiting for their love, waiting for their prince to come, so we say. But what sets Beauty and the Beast apart from that is that it is that demonstration of this gradual growing of love between Belle and the Beast. It is a tale as old as time, but it is told in a completely new way for Disney, with beautiful music, beautiful vocals, and stunning visuals.
Ellie also knows this one very well. This is mean. You guys can't do this to me. Okay, 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
Oh, Ralph breaks the internet, hit the nail on the head with the cliche of your scene. It's saying what they want while staring at important water. We've seen it enough times. We get it. Okay, but
she's in the water though. She's not staring at the water.
Still staring at the water. What else is there to look at?
That's not her choosing to stare at the water.
It's not even the best song from The Little Mermaid.
Yours isn't even the best song from Beauty and the Beast. Gaston and the Bob song are way better.
The Academy would disagree, but we're not all about the Academy.
The Academy would disagree with you.
I also disagree, because all Disney films have that sort of like this. I want to escape my life. You know, Beauty and the Beast has Belle, and it's, you know, and they all Disney films have not only they have the fun song, they have the I want to escape song, and they all have a love song. But the difference with Beauty and the Beast is what sets it apart.
Musicals.
It's about the hope that the other songs are about the hope for love coming, or the eventual, you know, one day that prince will come. And what we see here is this growing love between Belle and the Beast, something that the characters are observing, we the audience are observing. It's what we see, and the visuals, that grand ballroom, the sweeping shot of that ballroom. I tell you, Beauty and the Beast, and I see that sweeping shot. I hear the music. I hear the music from Part of Your World, but I don't see anything that accompanies it. And this is a text of a movie, the context of a movie.
You know what, Joe? You're absolutely right. A lot of those I Want songs is about one day my prince will come. Whereas with Part of Your World, the I want is to become a human and experience what it is like outside of the water on land. So you're absolutely right. This song is different than all those other I Want songs. Plus, with yours, I want you to focus on just the song. I don't want to hear anything about the visuals. I don't want to hear anything about Angela Lansbury's performance.
I mean, that's the song. Angela Lansbury is singing
not
the song.
technically.
I mean, okay, all right. So let's forget anything Jodie Benson. Let's just listen to the music. Okay, cool. And the Beauty and the School of Beauty and the Beast, that tale of that sound, the tale as old as time. That you hear that crash, the crescendo of the music coming in. Jodie Benson's vocals are what I remember about Part of Your World, not the music. So if you want to get rid of that, fine, because Angela Lansbury, because Alan Menken crushes with the score of Beauty and the Beast.
So here's the thing with Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast is the dynamic changes by like maybe a little bit throughout the entirety of the song. Whereas with Part of Your World, there's the swells as it leads into the I want to be where the people are. And then there are the moments where it's just the strings, maybe an oboe or maybe a piano, and it builds that intimacy. And it makes us listen to the lyrics a lot more when you do that. And you connect with the lyrics of that. I have seen so many people do this at karaoke because that song hits them so emotionally.
I mean, I thought we weren't talking about the lyrics, but apparently you've brought them back into it.
No, the lyrics matter.
They do matter, and exactly, and that's the point. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Yours is the "I Want to Escape My Life" song. I've said a lot of love songs are the same, and the Beauty and the Beast is different because it's not about waiting for that prince to come. Whereas the "I Want to Escape My Life" song, it's all these are the things I don't like about my current life, and here's what I want. And it's the same. It's the same whether it's, and I know we're only talking about 20th century, but it's still the same whether it's How Far I'll Go, whether it's Reflections, whether it's One Day My Life Will Begin, whether it's Hakuna Matata. It doesn't matter what song it is. It's still the same story beats, whereas Beauty and the Beast stands apart. And if you're going to talk about the music, the crescendo of that music, that when you hear that, the way it plays along with Angela Lansbury's vocals coming in, as well as the visuals coming in, right? It's the reason it's the best song in a Disney film is because it not only is a beautiful song, it complements what we're seeing on screen.
So you're still bringing up the visuals and Angela Lansbury, but
Oh,
You said you bring up a crescendo, but your song is entirely like the oboe and strings and all that stuff. Mine is like subtle strings and maybe a little piano, and then when she gets to "When's it my turn?" Da 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 da, right at the end, you have these horns that come in and underlie it and give it this bombastic sense of hope and beauty, and then it dies back and you feel the weight of the crushing feeling that she feels like she's never going to escape from this world through the music alone. And also, you said that your song's not about "One Day My Prince Will Come." Yes, it is, because the prince is right fucking there.
but that's not what Belle's desire has been. It's about the fact that she has all the time been wanting to get out of that castle, and
Doesn't
yet
have to be a literal prince.
Grown against a challenging situation.
Time. Okay. We're gonna go to Joe first. Joe, you get to close first. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
The key to a good song in a film is beautiful music, beautiful vocals, and how it complements the scene. And as a whole, Beauty and the Beast is far outweighs the quality of Part of Your World. Part of Your World, it has nice music and it has good vocals, but the difference comparing it to Beauty and the Beast, I think, is a massive disservice to what Disney has done over the years and what we've come to expect from Disney. Yes, we've come to expect the love song, and yes, we've come to expect the "I Want to Escape" song, but nothing from Part of Your World sets it apart from the other "I Want to Escape" songs. Whereas what Beauty and the Beast does, it takes what we know about these characters and it brings that love, and the way the music hits, the way Angela Lansbury's vocals complement the music, and where it complements that grand sweeping shot of the ballroom and the two of them dancing together. Everything about that song is beautiful and perfect. And it talks about that love that has been growing the entire time. What Part of Your World does, it's just, I want this, and I want this.
Okay. We're going to move over to Barr. Barr, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Joe, have you ever had to do the song "Beauty and the Beast" at a professional level? I have, when I understudied Cogsworth for the biggest theater company in Philadelphia. And I'll tell you what, not that hard of a song. Whereas it's kind of baseline, like it's kind of the same register area of the notes throughout the entirety of the song. Whereas you get those soft, intimate moments at the beginning and at the very end of the song. Then you get the bombasticness of the hope that comes from the swells and the horns. And it is such a dynamic, incredible piece that is different from all the other "I Want" songs, because all those other "I Want" songs are basically, oh, I want to have a prince someday, and I want to find love. And with Ariel, the lyrics convey this deep emotional need for something more, something on land, something out of her world.
Time. Though that made Maggie go at the end there. No, that was Maggie. Maggie also very much enjoyed your using of the word oboe. She pointed that out. She goes, "Oboe, huh?" Oh, when you said the word bombastic, she also liked that. So.
Anything that has a bow in it.
Yeah, right.
Joe, I think we made Mark cry from how difficult this is going to be for him.
I just really love Disney songs.
Sold to the man with the exceptional mustache.
Brian, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. This was very good. I think we can agree that both songs are great.
Yes.
And I think that both people did a really good job of selling why their song is great, especially in the context of their movie. That being said, I went with Joe. I thought that we went a lot of places like take the singer out, just listen to the music, put the singer back in, do this. Don't look at the movie. Don't think about the movie, but do look at, like, we went a lot of different places, but I think on the whole, what is the best song in a Disney movie? I do take the visuals into it, and I think Joe just painted the picture really painting the picture of like the sweeping shots of the ballroom, the dance, the music along with it. Like, and when he was challenged on taking the singer out of it, he did and pointed out that the music behind it is really powerful as well. So I think Barr did a great job. I'm not a huge Little Mermaid fan, frankly, but Barr did a really good job of selling me on that song. I think Joe just did it better on the context of the movie as a whole as well. So I went with Joe. Brian, am I cuckoo?
Well, I think I took the question differently than you. It's what is the best song? I kind of bought into Barr's argument when he was saying, you need to not include the visuals. It's best song. It's not best musical sequence. It's best song. I did think it was a little weird though when he wanted to try and take Angela Lansbury out of it because you can't really take the singer out of the song. So that part was a little weird for me. I'm not sure where he was going with that, and that caused all kinds of tangents. That being said, I did vote for Andrew Barr.
Oh, okay.
I just think that Joe, when he was trying to, I guess, kind of attack and defend, was saying how every movie has their want song, every movie has their love song, things like that. But what he didn't do is tell me how his love song was that much better or different than the love songs in other movies. Whereas Andrew did a good job of telling me why his want song is better and different than other want songs.
That's fair. Yeah, I totally get that. Mark, are we going to a bonus round or do we have a winner?
Well,
he hates this job.
Yeah, I know.
His vocals to watch the
Well, it was never really good in leaning in this. I did go a Barr in this one. I kind of hooked on to his argument of when it comes down to it, his song is kind of setting up the world, it's setting up the character, and it's kind of putting you into the head of this character. It's kind of conveying all these emotions through just the music in general. And I think Joe did a solid defense, at least on his song. I think he kind of was throwing a whole bunch of stuff out there. I just think Barr's whole argument just maybe felt a bit more focused on that. And he's able to just kind of paint a better picture at the end of the day.
All right, well, that means your winner is Andrew Barr. Ellie, come on. All right, we're going to do some quick talking to the players. Joe, really great match. This was a close one. 2 clean sweeps on opposite questions and then split decisions at the end. Crazy stuff. What are your thoughts coming out of this one?
Yeah, the Jim Carrey one was tough because obviously he got to choose first. And when you see Streep, Hoffman, this is gonna be fun. But he did put up a great fight and felt good to sort of take him on one of his own questions. But obviously he swept me on one of my own as well. So I think he put up a great fight, deserved to win. But if you win in a song question by saying take out the vocal performance, that surprised me. But I still think he deserved it.
That's fair. Joe, we will see you back later this season, whether it be in the tournament or post-tournament. We're definitely going to be having you back this season. I said it in the last word event or the final, whatever we called it. I don't remember. Last word. I said that I think you are a future contender in this league. You're always just like right there. Who do you want to play next to try to get over that like 50-50 record?
Yeah, I think it's tricky. It's so close. Like every debate I've been in has either been really close or it's even gone to sudden death. So yeah, I think it's just fine tuning.
That's fair. Is there anybody you want to play to try to jump over the hump?
When it comes to debate, kind of no. I mean, I've debated against a lot of the people that I really like to debate. I like to debate against, and I have sort of really sort of close relationships with. So I think just someone that I haven't fought before, maybe just to sort of try and add that extra dimension and add that fine tuning to my arguments would be a good idea.
Absolutely. Joe, we'll see you later this season. Thanks for being here. As we bring in the winner, Mr. Andrew Barr. Barr, you seem surprised.
A little bit.
Tell us, what are your thoughts on the match?
I had one thought going into this match, and it's that I had one question that I thought was an absolute slam dunk, and that's the one I lost. Because of course it is.
That's how it works. Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
it always happens. Because I knew that like when Joe picked Beauty and the Beast, I said to myself, okay, so he picked the song that is the absolute hardest to argue against in the rest of Disney's catalog. So I was like, great. And Joe is just I don't talk with Joe that often. We're not on call that often.
Yeah.
But like he's a player that I have an immense amount of respect for. And so like I knew that this was going to be a very tough training match. I'm happy with the outcome, but this is the kind of match that you head back to the locker room, you slap a band-aid on your forehead, maybe one on your nose, and push on to the next one.
Well, speaking of the next one, oh
shit.
I don't know
crap.
if you know this or not. I swear in front of her all the time. It's not. I need to stop. She's learning to speak. Her first word. She's gonna go to school and be like, "Fuck her." But anyway, your next match, Barr, is a contender match. You were actually in a picture here, and you're gonna be going up against the winner of Amaru Moses and Robert Kastner. So you got one of those two to face next. And if you win one of those, if you win against either of them, you're in a title match. So
haven't I lost to Rue before?
A lot of people have. I don't know if you have.
So were you asking who I would rather play?
Yeah. Thank you.
God. I want to play Kastner, mostly because Rue's going to be mad at me that the Eagles are beating the Commanders right now. So he's going to want to take that out on the Philly boy. But also, I haven't played Kastner yet. So let's go with Kastner, mostly because Rue scares me a lot more.
That's fair.
No
So, Barr, we will see you back in a couple weeks for that contender match. I'm looking forward to it. That is going to do it for us today at Fanzone Debate. I want to thank Mark and Brian for being here to judge this one. Thank you to Joe and Barr as you try to escape. I have been Tim. We'll see you guys next week. What's going on next week? We have a debut match. Javi Madden versus Kaiser Wang. That's next week. So that one's going to be very exciting. We will see that next week. Until then, have a great night. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
There we go. Thanks a lot. Come again.
Hey, I won't forget what you've done for me here today.
I would prefer that you do.